Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm John Cena Sr.
Johnny, the fans just haven't asked for it, they have demanded it.
This August, we're headed back to Tampa for Wrestle House 2.
WrestleMania weekend, we brought you Sinister Minister James Mitchell, TJP, Demolition Smash, Al Snow, Dutch Mantel Zeb Coulter, JTG of Primetime, and WWE Hall of Famer Gerald Briscoe for in-depth interviews and live interactive cyber autograph signings.
And if you want our Wednesday Night Wrestling Insider Special Edition episodes to continue, we need your help to bring these superstars' careers and lives to life.
Bringing you free content 7 days each week is an expensive proposition. Between appearance fees, air travel, renting the house, the equipment, and everything that goes in to a week of shooting, we can't do it without you.
As we prepare to return to producing live in-ring events, help us bring you the superstars and legends of yesterday and tomorrow by visiting Indiegogo now and check out some of the great rewards.
Wrestling fans, it's going to be a wild week in Tampa the first week in August. Get ready for Wrestle House 2.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Right.
There you go.
Are you ready, sir? We're running short on time.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, baby. In 5, 4, 3. Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of our new Sunday night tradition. Wrestling Inside is stern but fair. It is a muggy, humid Sunday night here in Boston. I don't know about the Garden State itself, but the man here to tell us all about that, the one, the only, the first, the former MWF Heavyweight Champion, now on the Boston Wrestling Board of Directors, Mr. Tiger Mulligan. Tiger, you are on the prowl.
Did you hear that? I had to pop my White Claw hard seltzer mango to get through this podcast tonight.
You having an adult beverage?
Yeah, you know what? I figured it's almost the tail end of my vacation week, and I'm going to go out with a bang.
Now, did you have a nice vacation?
I did. It was actually a little. And my parents are. It's their 50th wedding anniversary coming up in the next week or so, and so we ended up getting the whole family together for a week out in the Poconos in a house. It was mayhem and bedlam, but overall it was a pretty good time.
The hills were in the hills.
Yeah, the hills were in the hills. The tigers were on the prowl.
Well, that's good. Hopefully the in-laws, didn't mind it too much, a gathering of that size. I know how that can go. I'm missing out on one of those as we speak.
Yeah, no, you know what it is for me? I'm not a big fan of stuff like that. I'd much rather just be with my immediate family, with my son and my daughter and my wife. But, something like a 50th wedding anniversary, you don't see those these days. So I decided to partake with my brothers and sisters and their families. And like I said, it was mayhem and bedlam, but we got through it, and it was a good time.
Must have been an awfully big house.
It was very big. 3 stories.
Oh, wow.
Bunch of bedrooms, plenty of room for the kids to run around. It was great.
Well, I'm glad that it went well today. Outside of a few technical hiccups like I'm running into right now, we had a great taping with JTG of Crime Time.
Oh, that's a great time. I bet JTG's got a lot of stories to tell. And you know what's funny about the JTG is, he seems to be making a return to the independents and making some waves, and he's looking great. He always has, but he's looking even better than ever. And I'm sure the people, the fans, the wrestling universe is primed and ready to go for when you put that stuff out and all that good kind of stuff. He
is, I have to say this, without a doubt, absolutely in the best shape of his career, almost like Carlito when he returned at Royal Rumble last year. The good thing about Jay is he's several years younger than Carlito, and I know he's involved with the NWA, but that's kind of a limited viewing universe right now. But I could see him pop up looking that good and being that good of a promo on any of the major TV shows. Great interviews. I wish everybody of the quote-unquote stars and names that come in could be as easy to deal with as he is. Just delightful.
Well, that's great news. I mean, you don't see that these days. And it's funny how he and Carlito are probably towards the tail end of their careers, or coming towards the tail end of their careers, and they look better than ever. They kind of doing it backwards, in my opinion.
Well, and it's almost going to sound like I'm plugging it for him, but he developed this product called T-Moss. T-moss.com. It's made out of some kind of seaweed in the Caribbean or something, and he says it's how he looks as good as he does naturally. He says he could pass any test thrown at him, and if that's the case, good for him. I mean, you know, he's someone that should be making six figures on a national television show. But I tell you, we had a great time. He's got a little one up here in Boston, so he has to be here, which obviously helps the cause. And, a lot of good vibes, which was nice. We like good vibes as opposed to some of the negative ones we've had from time to time. Or even good people that have had bad days. How about that?
Yeah, I hear that. Maybe it's time to do away with some of the 80s guys and go more into the 2000s guys, because it seems like they're doing better for you.
But I think as far as our fans go, I think the fans love the 80s and the 90s
they
guys.
do.
So it's kind of a catch-22.
Everybody loves a train wreck every now and again.
Well, and let me tell you that we could have a parking lot full of them on Saturday, November the 13th at Memorial Hall when we go back to the 80s for WrestleFest, our 20th anniversary. A man on the phone right now that was here for the very first one of them way back in September of 2001, just a couple of weeks after 9/11. Wasn't that a unique time in our lives?
It was, and you know what? I have vivid memories of that night. Of winning that championship. It was great times.
Well, the good news is you didn't win the title the first night.
No, the first night in the Greyhounds.
Yes,
Park.
Wonderland Greyhound Park, where ECW used to run.
You know what's funny is as I have my computer pulled up, I'm looking at a picture from that actual first show of me facing Judas Young.
Well, look at that, and you were victorious as usual.
I mean, come on, would you expect anything else?
Well, you were one of my better free agent signees, I have to say.
It was. I loved those locker rooms back in the day, and you know what? That Wonderland Park. It was the first time that I wrestled there, but it was a close knit, intimate type of style of show. It was jam packed, and I'm sure that November the 13th is going to be no different.
I think knowing you, are going to love Memorial Hall here in Melrose. I know JTG went down to check it out. On his way here in the limousine that was sent for him. And, it almost had classic wrestling and boxing back in the 1930s and the 1940s, and a lot of history to it. Road Dogg felt the building was haunted from some of the vibes he picked up from it. So it's a unique place. So I look forward to everybody joining us on November the 13th. If you are a Patreon subscriber, there is a special link where you can get your all-inclusive VIP packages and tickets now, or if you are a non-Patreon, if you're just one of the diehard fans and friends that love our shows, tickets and VIP packages are available to everybody beginning Friday, August the 6th. Where else would you want to celebrate 20 years of Boston Wrestling MWF with all Hacksaw, Jim Duggan, Axe and Smash Demolition, Jake the Snake Roberts, and many more to be announced? But here we go with another very interesting week in the world of wrestling. The rumor mill, it has gone wild, sir.
It has gone wild, and that's the first thing on my my to talk about list is it looks like AEW is trying to make some waves with bringing in perhaps not only CM Punk but also Daniel Bryan, and that's what I'm reading about. So,
what do you think?
You know what? Good for them. I hope that they can sign both if they haven't already. I think it's a shot in the arm of what they need to get even more eyes on that product. And you know what? Dare I say, can those two bring? I don't know. Maybe I hate to say that they're going to be the number one company, because in all reality, WWE will always be the number one company just based on money. But, if you base it on viewership and ratings and, talent being happy in the locker room, I think that could be a good shot in the arm for them. And I think it would be a great thing for them. It'd be a delight to see CM Punk back in a ring. I wasn't a huge fan of CM Punk when I was sharing a locker room with him. But I became a big fan of him when he was doing his stuff on WWE television. So it would be good to see him. Daniel Bryan, I've been honored to share the ring with him in the past before he was even signed. Coming out of Shawn Michaels School down in Texas. So it would be good to see him do some stuff other than WWE and other than that watered down product, because I know he's capable of a lot more than what he's quote unquote allowed to do in WWE. So it would be good. My only concern with it is that obviously these guys aren't cheap. They got to be able to have that cash flow. And they seem to be scooping up more and more talent and signing them to contracts. I just hope they're not getting in over their head before, kind of putting the cart before the horse, so to speak.
Well, maybe they're a wrestling company that's paying out more than 8% of the gross to the talent like WWE.
It could be. It could be. I know that they have the second show that they're going to be starting. They need talent for that. But I also feel like they might have too much talent right now. And they might need to kind of slow things down and get a better rhythm than what they have going on right now.
I think they're going too crazy as far as all the indie guys they're bringing in for these internet shows. I don't, other than maybe stockpiling footage for a potential AEW network or streaming service at some point. But why have 2 internet shows that have over a dozen matches each every week? I mean, I couldn't imagine having the time or the interest to sit, and nothing against the talent, but I just couldn't imagine having the time or the interest to want to see that much more on top of what's going to be starting August 13th, 2 regular weekly AEW shows on primetime TV. That's a lot of time to dedicate to anything. It's almost similar to WWE. Beyond having Raw, SmackDown, NXT, you have the main event show, which I don't know virtually anyone. I don't know anyone that watches that. 205 Live. I mean, that people gave up on that a long time ago. You have NXT UK. I mean, that's a lot of original in-ring content beyond the out-of-the-ring content they produce.
Yeah, I think the route that they're trying to go with that, and I could be wrong, but even just based on what Tony Khan has said, is that it's more or less their performance center. He went on after a show one day and said, we don't have a performance center, and that those internet shows are their performance center. So with that, so to speak, being their feeder system and the only way they're going to be able to look at talent really besides, say, an actual independent show tape, kudos to them. But again, I just hope it doesn't get to be too much like you're saying, because Lord knows that there's so much wrestling content out there right now, and a lot of it is just not any good.
Amen to that. I hate to almost say it after JTG just left, but, he's very active in the NWA, and, I'm glad NWA exists. I'm glad that they're giving people paydays, but I couldn't imagine having the time or the interest to want to sit there and watch it.
Yeah, I agree. I think the whole problem that I have with it, and I'll even put, say, Impact and a Ring of Honor into this same kind of category as NWA,
sure,
is they're not super huge. You can't really figure out where to watch them, and yet they're signing guys to exclusive contracts, and I just don't agree with that. Now, guys get kind of punchy, and they say, I want to be under contract somewhere and be exclusive, but in all retrospect, you could be making more money by doing those NWA shots, maybe for a little bit less, but then traveling around and doing other indies and being open. That's just my take on it. And if I was to change something, if I had the power to change something, that's what I would change about it.
I'm worried that if Tony Khan decides to sign all of these guys on the internet shows, that they're going to kill the independents.
It's a good take. I don't know. I think the independents are completely thriving as is right now.
Well, if they're going to sign up everybody that's got an ounce of talent, and then WWE is going to try and compete with them to get them down to Orlando, plus you have Impact, you have Ring of Honor, you have Major League Wrestling, you have even NWA. I mean, that's a lot of companies trying to eat up bodies right now. And what is that going to leave for the indies?
Well, it's not going to leave much for the indies, but I think what's going to end up happening is, like I said, it's going to get to be where you're paying out more than you're bringing in, and it's going to be for all companies. So, you put these guys on exclusive contracts, and they have to be able to make a living doing so. You can't have your champion making X amount of money and not being able to pay his bills where he's got to go get a part-time job. That's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
Even with the independents, you got to be able to pay these guys to where they can, and girls for that fact, to where they can make a salary and be comfortable at home. Now, I'm not talking about $100,000 deals. I'm talking, more than $150 a shot. If you're somebody that has a bit of a buzz and name for themselves around the independents, you need to be able to make a living at this and not and put your all into it and not have that part-time job somewhere else. And that's what the problem is I don't know if the NWA can do that. I don't know if MLW or Ring of Honor can do that. Impact, maybe. I don't know. AEW most certainly can, but if they keep scooping up talents, then it's going to be bad news for everybody.
Well, I think AEW people have said, they're signing this one from WWE, they're signing that one from WWE. I think with the second primetime show, I think it's a very smart move. If you look at wrestling history, and I know Tony Khan is someone that just didn't get in this to spend money. He is someone that has followed the industry. Yeah. Look at what happened to the disaster that was WCW when they launched Thunder, and I'll argue, look at the disaster that even became of WWE when they presented SmackDown as a non-dual brand show. I mean, you expose too many talents too quick to the point where it goes back to the old saying, less is more. If you have 2 chances a week to see someone instead of 1, I think that's 1 too many. I don't think there are any talents that should be on TV weekly. If I was booking it, I would try and slim that down to a couple of times a month. So when you promote that one of these main event players is going to be featured on the TV show, it's must-see appointment television, as opposed to, if I don't see him this week, I know he'll be on next week. Yeah.
No, I agree. And I mean, you can go back and look at the 80s. I mean, I could probably count on one hand how many times I saw Hulk Hogan on Saturday Morning Superstars.
He would usually...
If it was 1 or 2 times, that would be a lot.
Exactly.
You'd have to pay a ticket to see him.
He'd usually do a Superstars match in May for May sweeps. You'd get him a couple of times on Saturday night's main event on NBC. And other than that, like you said, it was house shows or pay-per-views. If you wanted to see the Hulkster in front of your eyes, you had to go out of your way to do it. And I'm not saying that's the route they should go, but I'd like to see more Lesnar-type deals where you only see guys, a dozen times a year between TV and pay-per-view. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Imagine,
I don't either.
For those fans of certain movies, imagine if there was a new Batman movie every week, or if there was a new Star Wars movie every week. I mean, it loses its luster. And when you have that second primetime show, man, I tell you, there was no reason to watch SmackDown for many years. I don't think there was ever any reason to watch Thunder when WCW presented that, because pretty much, in a lot of cases, it was a rerun with just less star power.
Right. No, I agree. And I do like what AEW is doing. So, you're not getting championship matches every week. You might have one thrown in there like a TNT title or a tag title. You might have one championship a week, but you won't have the heavyweight title defended every week. You might see Kenny Omega within a promo or a recap or something like that, which is great, and is what they should continue to do. So that way it keeps it fresh. The problem I foresee with Kenny Omega right now is that he's on multiple shows and multiple companies, so I hope he doesn't get watered down, and I hope that the fans continue to want to see him defend his title against whomever it might be.
I actually kind of like that, because to me it's a throwback to the old days of the NWA and even the AWA, because Gagne would send Bockwinkel out at times to Houston and different different NWA territories even. As long as it isn't, because it's simple, overexposure and the pacing of it, how often and how much he's presented. I think it's cool that he's in multiple places at multiple times, just as long as, if I was Kenny, I wouldn't want to be on every show every week, because then there comes the overexposure to the point that I don't become as relevant as I am now when I show up here or there at any given time. Then there's the element of surprise. Then there's the not knowing, and that makes it, I think, more interesting to the fans.
I think the one person that's really doing it right is Cody Rhodes. You don't see him as often as anybody else, and when he does do something, it really means it. So, he just had that run with that, I can't even remember the guy's name, but he wasn't on TV.
The trainer at his school?
The trainer, I
don't Marshall.
Yeah, there you go. That's how much of an impression he left on me. But now he's doing something with, former Aleister Black. I think he's going by Malachi Black now. But again, he's not on every week. He's not doing stuff every week, and he'll do the one little program, but then he'll go hide away for a little while. So it makes it a little bit more special. Even somebody like a Dustin Rhodes, you don't see him every week, and when you do see him, or when I see an advertised match for him, I get that I need to tune in because I've got to see what happens type of thing.
Yeah.
So I completely understand what you're saying. I don't want the fans to misinterpret what I'm saying. I don't mind Kenny Omega going to do the Impact stuff. I think it's good for their product and for the AEW product. You get more eyes on things. But like you said, I hope it just doesn't become an overexposure thing to where it just kind of loses its luster, like you said, and then it just gets watered down. And you don't want to watch it anymore.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Maybe there'll be more places Kenny goes. Who knows? He also holds championship gold, I believe, with AAA in Mexico.
AAA,
so
yeah.
He's a global phenomenon, and you know what? When we had him here in the MWF, heck of a nice guy. I'm happy for his success anytime one of our alumnists does well once they grow in their careers. But if you had to pick between one of the two, would you take Punk or Bryan?
Oh, God, that's so hard. I think I might have to take Punk solely on the fact that I don't think Bryan can do any of his shtick that he's doing in WWE anywhere else. Mm-hmm. So that whole yes chant has to go away. His name has to be changed. It's not a huge ordeal. It's going to just be flipped around and be Bryan Danielson. So that's not a huge thing, but there's going to be a real fine line of what he can and can't do contractually wise, and what WWE owns compared to what he might own. So I think you're going to see a completely different Daniel Bryan, and it may not be what the fans want to see. So I think with just that being said, I would go with the Punk, just because, again, you haven't seen him in 7-8 years. So
right, yeah, January of 14.
Yeah, so you kind of have that. Oh, is he going to come out and be the old Punk, or is he going to come out and look like a tub of goo and not do what he used to do oh so well? Well,
with Bryan, obviously, there's going to have to be the name Tinker to his real name. I can't imagine they'd go with anything else. But
right.
As far as the fans chanting yes, what are you going to do?
Right.
I mean, you can't mute the TV show.
No, you can't, and the fans are able to chant whatever. But just as well as I do, if he's not playing to that, you give it a few weeks, and it's going to go away. He'll have it right off the bat, and who knows? Maybe he'll switch it up and do some kind of different chant, kind of like what Kurt Angle did when he went to TNA back in the day, and he couldn't use "It's true, it's true."
Yeah.
So I guess it's really Pandora's box, and we just got to wait to see when it gets opened.
Do you think that losing Bryan hurts WWE?
Right now, yeah, because they don't have star
Okay.
power right now. They don't have the star power they need. They're doing well with ticket sales, but it's because everything's new again.
Right. I agree with that. Yeah.
Look at give it 6-8 months, or even a year. They're going to be back down to doing 500 to 1,000 people per house show. It's going to be it's not going to be original. You're not going to see anything new. And even the TV show. The TV show is just it's god awful. It's just really bad. The Money in the Bank pay-per-view, I was not impressed with it whatsoever.
Really?
I wasn't. I'm sorry.
Surprised.
There was a couple matches.
Wow.
There was a couple matches I did enjoy, but to me it was the same old thing. If we want to transition into that, we kind of booked. Last week we booked what we thought was going to happen. I called some stuff. I didn't call some stuff. Nikki Cross didn't see that coming whatsoever. But it's just bad business. It's really bad. It's almost like they did. Okay, who's never had it? Oh, let's just give it to her then. It just was bad, and I thought the finish of that match was terrible. They're all fighting on the top, and she just crawls up and gets it. It was like, oh my god, T.J. Wilson couldn't come up with a better finish than that.
I was a big fan of the show. I don't know if this is going to make any sense. I wasn't a big fan of the show. I was a fan of the show. I just didn't like a lot of the finishes and who went over in certain matches. I enjoyed the show from start to finish. I thought it was one of the better pay-per-views this year.
It's tough because I had some streaming problems.
Okay. Well, that didn't help
when I was watching it.
Yeah.
I didn't get to see a lot of the Charlotte match. I didn't get to see any of the men's Money in the Bank match except for the tail end. which I don't even remember the finish of that. And then I can't remember if there was another match that I didn't get to see. There might have been. Let's see. I'm just looking real quick. I think even the Bobby Lashley match, I didn't get to see any of that. No. I'm sorry. I saw the Bobby match, but I didn't get to see the tag match with AJ and Omos.
Gotcha.
So I had problems streaming, and I haven't gotten a chance to go back and take a look at anything yet because, like I said, I've been away. So hopefully maybe tonight or within the next couple of days I can go back and see some of those matches, but I don't know if I want to. But, I don't know how those finishes went. I like the fact that they put the belt on Charlotte. I think she should have it way over Rhea Ripley. She just needs I don't know if she needs a gimmick change or a repackage already. I don't know. But it doesn't make much sense because, obviously Nikki Cross cashed in the next night. So
with Rhea Ripley, like I think I said last week or recently, it's almost like she's had whatever life she had in her in NXT is almost like a vacuum cleaner was shoved up her ass and was sucked out of her. It feels like it's like she was told she's being released in 2 weeks and she's just like, oh, okay, let me go and finish up. Yeah, and I don't think that's the case. I just think her wrestling is fine, but it's just as far as everything else that went along with the package that was over in NXT is gone.
Yeah.
It's almost like a zombie.
I don't understand the character. She comes out, if you just look at a picture of her, you would think immediate heel, but they're trying to push her as a babyface. I just don't think she's a babyface.
It seems like they change her and Charlotte almost every week in that program. Who's supposed to be the face and who's supposed to be the heel? I don't know. It changes per episode.
Yeah, and you can almost foresee the future where that Charlotte is going to challenge Nikki Cross for the championship and Rhea Ripley is just going to cost Charlotte the belt, and they'll just keep it on Nikki Cross for the time being until she faces somebody else. Who that is, I have no idea. But again, it's just I don't get it. Maybe because it's new. Maybe because they have all the fans back. They want that big baby face. I just don't think they're doing it the right way. I don't.
To me, Nikki Cross wouldn't be the one that I'd be trying to anoint. I just think, again, if you were trying to produce a show for 5-year-olds, I think that would be a lot of fun. But, as a 40-year-old person, I have zero interest in Almost a Superhero. I don't want to see it. I hate it. I liked it when she was more like the Kevin Sullivan Tasmanian Devil version of herself.
And I thought that was a good version of her. When she was with that Sanity group, I thought she did really well.
Yeah.
And then she kind of broke off when they all got called up, but it just made more sense. She looked the part. She did the character really well.
Yeah.
But then it just kept getting, revamped and watered down and changed. And, then she started talking and
they tried to make her a little prettier and cuter and she smiled more. And, at that point, it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, who am I to say? I don't know. I don't work for the company, but if I did, I would not be going the route that they're going right now.
Definitely not. But I just don't understand what I'm watching sometimes. I guess it's the sad thing to say.
Well, it's crazy because I watched. We're talking about Money in the Bank. I watched the Bobby Lashley match, and it was like a complete squash.
It was perfect.
And it was perfect, but in the sense of why? What's the point? Like you beat Bobby Lashley, you made him look like a fool. Going against Xavier Woods. Now almost and then Kofi, who's supposed to be a top star, more so over Xavier, gets completely squashed. To me, it just doesn't. I don't understand the booking behind that. Like, now can they do something? Like, obviously these guys are a tag team, so why Kofi was even in the mix with the championship to begin with is beyond me. But what they did the next night. I mean, we can transition into that real quick. And you had your big return of Keith Lee, who got squashed. Was a complete waste of time.
I hope Keith Lee is saving his paychecks. That's all I can say. I don't think he's in it for the long run.
No, and it's almost like if I was Keith Lee, I would ask for my release. I would say I want out, and because they're making him look like a complete and utter fool, and they have since they brought him up. He looked like a star down in NXT. He was on his way up, and then they brought him up. They changed his look. They changed his music. They changed so much about him that it's like it's not even worth it. And then you bring him back to literally squash him for Goldberg to come in. I mean, come on. Goldberg just looks old. He looks worn out. You know he's not going to win. He's only got one match left for this year. It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I don't understand it. Why they keep going back to this guy, I don't know. He's not going to sell any more tickets. Goldberg. Why?
Oh, well, I
What's
mean,
the
at
point?
the end of the day, it was a 5-year deal that he signed, so.
I know that, but to me, just pay him out the money. Give him a lump sum. Do whatever you got to do. Don't keep putting him on TV. Nobody cares about it.
You know what? I respectfully disagree. I think there are fans that will be much more excited to see Billy Goldberg back working with Lashley than one of the regular WWE superstars. I mean, was there anyone really all that overwhelmingly excited to see Keith Lee come back? I think the problem with Keith Lee is maybe it's, kind of amusing to the younger generation that is into the independents right now. But every time he speaks, he almost sounds like he's doing a parody of a wrestling promo to me. And that's why I've never particularly cared for him.
No, I don't disagree with that because I've never been a fan of his promos. I do like his in-ring work, easy for me to say.
Yeah.
But again, it's just, he again got watered down, changed his look. He doesn't look the same. He's not doing the same stuff. He's a monster guy, and he's just not doing any of that monster guy stuff. And then he just gets, they welcome him back, and he gets squashed. So it's like, where do you go from here from that? I don't understand it. It's almost like they're going on tour with all these shows they got, and they got nobody to work. So they're bringing these guys back, and now they're going to probably go on the loop with Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley. But I
don't see how they could do it again.
I don't either, but they're gonna. They're gonna. It's that's the way they book things. I don't know, man.
I throw my hands up. As far as Keith Lee goes, I think they booked him well the first few weeks they brought him up in the summer of last year when he was in the mix with McIntyre and Orton and the top guys. But it's been downhill ever since. Obviously, the decision maker at the end of the day doesn't see Keith as a top-tier player. So, you either work harder and prove the man wrong, or you just try and smile and collect the paycheck as long as you're there.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's more of a, as of right now, put him at that mid-card level. And, I don't understand why they bring guys back and put them right into that top-tier level. It just doesn't make any sense to me because when you get knocked down, say for instance, they put him against, I don't even know who the U.S. champ is right now. Do you have any clue who the U.S. champ is right now?
Oh, boy, it's been a long day. Who the hell is the U.S. champion? What brand is it on?
I think it's on Raw, right? It's got to be on Raw.
Who the fuck is the U.S. champion? You got to throw me these curveballs.
Yeah, but as you're looking that up,
Sheamus.
So you throw him up against a Sheamus, right? So say, for instance, he beats Sheamus. Now, Keith Lee's not a top guy in order to do anything against Bobby Lashley, but then he goes in and beats Sheamus. Now, not only did you kill Keith Lee, but now you just killed off Sheamus. So it's that type of booking that you got to be really careful of because you're booking yourself into a corner and you're not going to find your way out of it. And they've been doing too much of that these days.
Well, even, having Karrion Kross, the NXT champion, come up and lose to a guy that they haven't done anything. Granted, one of the top stars, I'd argue, in company history, but someone they haven't done anything of any meaning with in many, 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 many months.
So I don't have a problem with him losing the way that he lost. What I have a problem with is that I get NXT is a third brand and a feeder brand, and it helps just kind of get guys some seasoning before they go up to the main roster. But what you did is that you took everybody that Karrion Kross has run through in NXT, your Johnny Garganos, your Tommaso Ciampas, your all those guys, and you made them look like complete and utter garbage. So now you just killed off that entire brand. And if I was those guys, I'd be a little hot about it. I'd be questioning why they get squashed, and then he goes up and gets beat by Jeff Hardy within quick matter of minutes. Granted, he put his feet on the ropes and cheated a little bit to win, but I don't know. It just, to me, makes the NXT brand look really, 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 really bad in the long grand scheme of things.
I think he should have at least lost the NXT title before he lost on a WWE TV show.
I agree 100% because, again, it just makes your brand look bad.
Yeah.
It makes your NXT champion somebody who you want to come up to the main roster but now is not. And he's a champion, a heavyweight champion at that. It makes him it just makes everything all around it look less than. And I don't. To me, if I was the owner or the booker or whomever, I wouldn't want that. I would want the NXT brand to be thriving and look really strong. So when those guys and girls come up, they're able to compete. Now it's almost like Karrion Kross can't compete. And how do you come back from that?
And what was the need for it? I mean, really, what does it do for Hardy? He beat, the NXT champion. Where does Jeff Hardy go? I mean, I guess we'll see in the next few episodes. But
well, which we can't even do because he just tested positive for COVID.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, so now he's going to be out for a minimum of 2 weeks. He can't do any house shows. He can't do TV unless maybe they film something from his house, but they're not going to do that because it's not a main event angle, so who cares?
I didn't hear about that. Well, best to Jeff Hardy then.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, listen, Jeff Hardy is he's a legend in the making. He's a bona fide Hall of Famer for the things that he's done. I think some of the I don't know, the luster, the stuff has come off of him, so to speak. He's kind of run its course. It's starting to wind down a little bit, but he still has something to offer if he's putting these guys over, because then they've beaten somebody. But if Karrion Kross can't beat them, then what's it say for your up-and-coming talent? And that's what a lot of these promotions just don't do right these days is they don't know how to build anybody up. They just kind of put people in. It's 50-50 booking. You win this week, I'll win next week, and we'll all come out the same. That's just not the way that the world works, unfortunately, and they haven't caught on to that yet, and especially WWE has not caught on to that yet.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, folks. Right now, we're getting a signal from the back. We're going to take a brief time out. We'll be back with more Wrestling Insider's Stern but Fair after this brief timeout. The World Wrestling Federation was live at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden in New York, New York, Monday, July the 25th, 1988. In the opening contest, Terry Taylor beat Leaping Lanny Poffo. The Rougeau brothers with the win over the Rockers in the Rockers MSG debut. Bret Hitman Hart defeated Dangerous Danny Davis. The Rock, Don Morocco, drew Greg the Hammer Valentine. WWF Tag Team Champions Demolition retained the titles over the British Bulldogs. The Powers of Pain victorious over the Bolsheviks. King Haku beat S.D. Jones. And in the main event, Andre the Giant with the win over Hacksaw Jim Duggan in a lumberjack match. If you were at MSG Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view, watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, I'm Dan Marty.
And I'm Mr. USA WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas.
The road to WrestleMania has begun. Wrestling fans are looking to add to their man caves. You got to see what we have in the eBay store.
Check it out.
On October 28th, 2020, wrestling's scariest night was back with WWE NXT Halloween Havoc. This limited edition collector's autograph poster is number 12 of only 100 produced and is signed by all 9 superstars featured on the poster, including Johnny Gargano, Damian Priest, Candice LeRae, Io Shirai, Dexter Loomis, Cameron Grimes, Rhea Ripley, Raquel Gonzalez, and your Halloween Havoc host, Shotzi Blackheart. Comes with WWE Authentication hologram on the back. You'll also receive an on-air thank you from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas and a bonus mystery autograph photo. Help keep wrestling legends working. Get this awesome collectible now.
WWE is coming home to Kansas City with Monday Night Raw. WWE is back with Monday Night Raw in Kansas City, Monday, July 26th. Tickets on sale now.
Wrestling fans, especially here in the Boston area, we want to thank our great friends at Red Rose for their support for all of our charitable endeavors and programming efforts. Red Rose is 2 years young and extremely thankful for all the support they've had from our neighbors here in Melrose and beyond for an amazing first 2 years. Red Rose thanks Melrose and all of the first responders who have fought the good fight and have never given up hope during these unprecedented times. We did it together. Follow Red Rose on Facebook for their anniversary special, facebook.com/Red Rose Melrose. You'll be glad you did. Open until 2 a.m. Red Rose will give you fresh, piping hot, mouth-watering food that'll put an ear-to-ear smile on even the toughest critic's face. Check out their full menu online at redrosema.com or give them a call, 781-620-1889. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to Wrestling Insider. Stern but fair, Dan Marty and Tiger Mulligan back with you again on Sunday night. We may be a little late tonight. If we are, we apologize. We had JTG here longer than we expected, producing some great Wrestling Insider special edition episodes. But you know, Tiger, as I have the internet up on my screen right now as we speak, I'm going to throw this one out at you. The internet is going nuts, at least Twitter, about Eddie Guerrero. I guess someone called Eddie Guerrero a B-plus player at best. And there's a lot of people angry about that. I'm going to ask you, in your opinion, what do you think of Eddie Guerrero?
So I have kind of a two-part answer to this. In WCW, Eddie Guerrero, without a doubt, was a B-plus player. Was he capable of more? Absolutely. It didn't happen in WCW. It happened when he was able to kind of break out of that stigma of cruiserweight type thing from WCW. When he went to WWE, he was able to show his character side. And it wasn't really after he kind of got past his demons and then came back the second time that he truly was shown at his full potential. And at that point in time, he was an A-plus player. So it's kind of a two-part answer. I don't know who said that, but, you know.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm trying to find the original postee.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of see where they're coming from. But at the same time, you know, again, he was only portrayed as a B-plus player, maybe an A player throughout his entire career. Is he somebody you can rely on to put on fantastic matches and get people over and get himself over? Absolutely, 100%. Was he a top-level heavyweight champion his most of his career? No, and that's just the grand scheme of things. He wasn't. It wasn't until, again, he got clean and went back to the Indies and reinvented himself and came back with a bit of a chip on his shoulder where he needed to prove something to people, and he did. He was a heavyweight champion. He deserved to be a heavyweight champion. I would have liked to have seen him hold it more than once or even a little bit longer than he did. He beat one of the biggest guys there is to beat at the time, Brock Lesnar, to become champion. He main evented one that technically didn't main event the WrestleMania, but he had an unbelievable championship match with Kurt Angle at WrestleMania 20. So in that retrospect, yeah, he was an A-plus player. You can look at it from a different standpoint where, is an A-plus player mean that you're a heavyweight champion? In my eyes, no. You could take a look at somebody, say, I'm going to throw out, say, Matt Cardona, Zack Ryder, for example. To me, he's an A-plus player. Look what he's doing now on the independents. He's getting a ton of buzz and was trending worldwide on Saturday night after his championship run or match with Nick Gage and some of the stuff that he's done to just get himself over and be that utility guy. I think a lot of the A-plus players right now, or even back in the day, were those utility guys that you needed. And X-Pac to me is an A-plus player. You need guys like that.
I think X-Pac is one of the more underrated talents of all time.
Yeah, I think people they throw out those A's and B's and things like that to signify with like heavyweight title. I don't think you need to do that because in all retrospect, Hulk Hogan couldn't work a lick. Excuse me. But he was an A-plus player because of the entertainment value of it. But then I look at somebody like a Rick Rude in WWF. He was a mid-card guy. He couldn't get past that mid-card level, but he was an A-plus player because he got guys over. He got Ultimate Warrior over to the level that he needed to get to become the heavyweight champion. So that's how I look at things. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
Well, you know what? I am going to respectfully disagree with you. I don't think Eddie Guerrero is anywhere near an A-plus player, simply based on the fact, did he ever draw anyone?
Ooh, that's a good point.
He was one of the worst drawing WWE champions of all time.
And it's
at
funny
least
because
when JBL ranked up there too as one of the worst draws of all time, but at least when he put over John Cena, it led to a slight bump in business.
Yeah.
And I think Eddie Guerrero was solid in the ring. The gimmick was fun. His promos were good. He helped draw a Hispanic audience to SmackDown. You can say all you want about how many different titles he won over the course of his career, but if I'm looking at an A-plus player, I'm talking about someone I can headline my WrestleManias with year in and year out. He didn't headline one WrestleMania that I can think of off the top of my head.
No, I don't think he did.
Was in
like
the
I
opening
said,
contest. I remember a couple. Well, maybe not a couple, but one.
Yeah, that was 21 or 22 or something against Ray.
21 against Ray, right?
Yeah.
Other than that World Championship match he had with Angle,
But then again,
when you look at the big shows, really, what did he? I'm not trying to knock him, but
no, of course not.
And he died rather young, so that takes away from his complete body of work. If he lived or even competed full time for another 5-10 years, who knows what he might have accomplished? But as the body of work as it is, and again, I may sound cold, but I just don't see him anywhere near an A-plus player. I think he was very good. But I don't think he was an elite. To me, he wasn't a guy I'd go with.
So I guess in that retrospect, if you're putting an A-plus mark on guys that, have drawn big business, there's really not a lot of A-plus guys out there. So you got to think, there's your Hogans, there's your Steve Austins. I don't know, maybe Shawn Michaels, maybe a Bret Hart, obviously a Ric Flair. But other than that, like who really drew like those guys did? John Cena. He was probably the last guy. Would you consider somebody like a Roman Reigns an A-plus player right now? I don't think so. I think we'll have to wait and see. Only time will tell if they carry this out. His heel turn out and put him in front of fans to see how it's going to be hard.
I think
this next year is going to be tough.
Yeah, I think Roman's getting there, but he's not there yet because again, he's never been a significant draw.
Now, what about like the Ultimate Warrior? Would you consider him one? Because he didn't really draw.
A-plus is awfully tough. And his run as champion, much like Eddie Guerrero's, was a complete and utter disaster at the box office. Say what you want, but when they put the titles on Cena and Batista in 2005, there was an increase in business,
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say
Batista,
that Eddie Guerrero was any better that Eddie Guerrero wasn't as good as Batista in the ring. He could work rings around Batista. But, at the end of the day, it's about, like Hogan said, the best worker is the one that sells the most tickets. And Eddie Guerrero was never even close to that.
No, and I agree. And it's funny because then you have to really look at somebody like a Bret Hart, because when Bret had the title, he wasn't doing significant amount of business, and he's one of the best. So
Bret, I have to say it's almost a little, honestly, at the end of the day, you have to look at the numbers and the body of work is what it is.
Of course.
But Bret, they put the title on when everybody left the company within a matter of 6 months. Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, Sid, Roddy Piper, Jake the Snake, Legion of Doom, Jimmy Snuka, Kerry Von Erich. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few people too. 1992, when those scandals hit, everybody was jumping out of WWF like it was the Titanic instead of Titan Sports. They had literally no one left to go with unless they went with someone fresh, young, and new. And, they felt, for better or worse, after that classic he had at SummerSlam 92, Bret was that guy. He didn't have the supporting cast of headliners to work the other loops. At that point, I believe in 92, there was still at least an A and a B team going every night. There wasn't a heck of a lot for them.
Yeah, it's tough. And even going beyond that, like, I'm not sure what the numbers were when Shawn was the champion, or even when Diesel was the champion.
I believe Diesel is the worst drawing champion of all time.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't know what those numbers are. I could totally see that. But again, look at the time when Diesel was champ. They weren't allowed to do anything. It was tough. They had the whole steroid scandal going on.
Well, no,
the trial was going.
No, Diesel was post.
That was afterwards.
No, Diesel was after the trial was over. So I can't blame that. Like when they try and blame the Monday Night Wars and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because of that. No, that was a year and a half after the trial ended. So, you know what, if you actually look at the history and the time of when these things happened, you got to be somewhat realistic. But
what about like a Triple H?
No, to me, an A-plus player is maybe a top 10 guy in company history.
Okay.
And I don't consider Triple H that. I don't know about you.
Top 10? I would give him top 10. I don't know the exact. I don't know the exact order. He's definitely, if not top 10, he's definitely, I would say 11 or 12, for me at least. But I'm not trying to kiss any ass here. I was a big fan of Triple H. I liked his heel work. He was one of those guys that wasn't afraid to be a heel. I enjoyed it.
Other than his run 2003, 2002-ish. Before Revolution, and he was just on television doing those long 20-minute promos every week to open Raw. Other than that small period of his career, well, it was a couple of years, but other than that period of his career, I thought he was excellent. Yeah. A top 10 guy?
It's tough. I mean, it's so like, I don't even know if the word is subjective, I guess. Somebody's going to say he's number one, and then you're going to have another 20 people say that he's not even in the top 20. So it's hard.
I always thought it was amusing that Bret Hart said, I think he said he didn't think Triple H was in his top 1,000.
Oh, come on.
Now that's personal vendetta, if nothing else.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, that's just that's bad business for Bret. He's just being bitter towards whatever heat they had in the back, whatever.
I just don't understand where this has come from. I don't know who made the comment that Eddie was a B-plus player, but you know what? I think that's about right.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to look at, ticket sales and things like that, absolutely. Because again, he didn't do much in WCW as far as getting to that top tier level. And he didn't get to a top tier level until well after he was in WWE. And then when he got there, he
almost had a nervous breakdown.
Yeah,
his business was so bad.
And he used to say it to his close friends, and I've heard Jericho say it a bunch of times, and Rey Mysterio, that he would come out of the ring and or right before he got into the ring and ask what the ticket sales were, the last time they were there, and things like that, and they were only up or even flat for when his run was if they were down in Texas, and that's obviously where he was from. So
wow, let's see, I've never even heard those quotes or those interviews or anything, but
yeah.
And there's nothing wrong in the world of professional wrestling in WWE with being a B-plus player. There are some of the greats that have ever been in the industry that I would label a B-plus player, but A-plus, come on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen,
I can't even see him sniffing it on his best day.
No, I have to agree with you. And if it's how we're judging it. If you judge it by in-ring ability, maybe he is an A-plus player. But then if you're judging by in-ring ability, then Hogan's not an A-plus player. So it's really how you judge. And at the end of the day, it's all about how much money you're putting in your pocket. And I think that's how you have to judge it. So no, I agree. I don't think he was an A-plus player. I think he was a solid B-plus. You know,
definitely. Very, very, very good. Excellent. Much higher tier to me than a utility player. But to me, an A-plus player is a guy that you can count on to do some form of business for the company, and have done it for an extended period of time, or have just almost like a Shawn Michaels, who maybe on his own was never really a great draw, but his body of work was just maybe the most exceptional of anybody's. You know, one man's opinion, again, as you said, it's very subjective, and it's nothing personal. I think the world of his widow, Vicky Guerrero. She's such a great lady. I'm certainly not trying to demean anything that Eddie did, but again, to me, I would love to get into professional wrestling and be a B-plus player. You know what I mean?
Hey, I mean, if I was making the paycheck Eddie Guerrero was, I would be a very happy man. And a lot of these other guys, some of these paychecks, you know, I look at somebody like a Big E. I'm sure he's making a pretty good, decent paycheck. I'd love to be in his spot. But you know, you just gotta. People can't get so bent out of shape over what people, you know, other people are saying, and you really got to look at it from dollars and cents. And you know, right now nobody's making any money as far as what they used to.
I only brought it up because it was trending right in front of our eyes, and we're going to be going live online much sooner than later. And I thought it maybe would be kind of an interesting touch to see what our takes on it were. I know I'm sure it certainly wasn't in your outline of the program for tonight, but
it wasn't.
I wanted to know what your take was, where it's kind of a topic of discussion in the moment.
Yeah, no, and again, you know,
I'll tell you, I'd take Mysterio over him in a heartbeat.
You would?
Oh, with the merchandising you could do with Mysterio?
Yeah, I agree. For me, I was just never a huge Rey Mysterio guy. I don't.
He's more of a kid's gimmick. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I just was never. I never believed. Yes, can Rey Mysterio do a lot of stuff that nobody else can do, and can he get over more than some of these other guys that are his height and stature? For me, when he beats up guys like Batista and does certain things, I just don't buy it, and I try to look at the realism. If there is any in professional wrestling, and stuff that makes sense from a quote unquote real standpoint, and just a lot of the stuff he did just didn't make sense to me. And I don't know, I just wasn't a huge Ray guy. I think
his overall body of work is almost kind of hurt by going to WWE and how he transformed his body to become so much thicker. And you can imagine how he went about doing that. But I think that's slow. No, I mean, I think it's
said his prayers and ate his vitamins, my man.
Well, I don't know what kind of vitamins they were, but I mean, I think it slowed him down a bit compared to what he was doing in WCW. But at the same time, how would a Rey Mysterio WCW size talent have fit in WWE at that point? I don't know. Maybe he felt the only course of action would have been, to get thicker like that, to have a fighting chance. And even with that fighting chance, I remember that first title reign he had when they gave it to him in honor of Eddie almost at WrestleMania 22. He was doing clean jobs every week on TV in non-title matches to stiffs like Khali and,
You're not a big fan of Khali? He's an A-plus player.
To me, I think if he was available for independence, I'd book him once in every city, and I think you'd probably do pretty good with him. I think he's, as an attraction, he's great once, but then you've seen it.
Yeah, no,
I almost agree. Like Boogeyman or Viscera or something like that. People we had the first time we had them in, they did very well, but then once you've seen it, you've seen it.
You've seen it.
You know what I mean? With Eddie, again, to his credit, much, much more variety and versatility with Eddie Guerrero than what I just mentioned a minute ago. Not that I would consider any of those people A-plus players, but...
Yeah. No, I agree.
And again, I would not call Ray an A-plus player.
No, and I wouldn't either. You got to remember, too, once WCW closed down, it took a few years before Ray was even brought into WWE. I don't remember the exact year. Was it that long? Were that short? I thought it was a bit longer.
July of 2002 he came in.
Was it? Okay. So, maybe if he didn't, like you said, if he didn't put on that thickness and that size when he did, maybe we never see Rey Mysterio in WWE. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball that tells me things. I can just speculate. But, he's overcome a lot of stuff. I think some of the matches that he's had in WCW are going to overshadow some of the stuff that he's done in WWE. I can't really recall a great, fantastic match that he's ever really had in WWE, except for maybe the one SummerSlam match that he had with Kurt Angle. That kind of sticks out in my mind.
Back quite a bit.
Yeah, but again, even that three-way match that he had with Angle and Randy for when he won that championship, it was just it was a quick 6-minute match. It was a hodgepodge. It wasn't very good.
That's not exactly his fault or anyone in the match's fault. Triple H needed Triple H's time, so they had to suffer for that. Who knows what it could have been? I don't like triple threat matches, as you know, unless there's a real reason behind it, and I think they just kind of did that because they didn't have an opponent for one of them. Obviously, Ray was going to go in and get the belt in honor of Eddie, which told a nice story. I don't think it really mattered. I think it probably would have had more heat if it was Orton because of those sickening things they did on TV when they blew up Eddie's car after he died and things that didn't need to be done, and I don't think helped business at all, but one man's opinion. I think they would have got more steam out of it if it was an individual match, but like I said, I don't think they ever planned much for the title reign where he was getting squashed every week.
Yeah.
As champion.
No, and I agree, and I don't know how long he held it for, but I don't think it was very long, and then I think he had it twice.
Until July. Yeah, he won it again, and then I think Kane won it the same night, or Kane cashed in the Money in the Bank the same night, and something like that.
Now I remember that. Yeah. Okay, so
he's had a great career. He's had a financially very, very great career. At one point, why I say I would take Ray over Eddie in a heartbeat is just a matter of the amount of merchandise that I know Ray has sold, which obviously is going to benefit the company more than these proverbial great matches. I think a lot of the fans, I'd love to know the ages of some of the people that are tweeting these things about Eddie right now. But again, right. I'm not trying to knock Eddie Guerrero.
No, it's not a knock at all.
I've never seen in my brain the Eddie Guerrero that these people call the GOAT, the greatest of all time, because really good? Yeah. Excellent at times? Yeah. But is that an A-plus player or greatest of all time? No.
Now, what about a Chris Jericho?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's had spurts. I don't think he's ever, so you could look at him when he went into New Japan for the first time. Look how many buy rates they got and how many off that one pay-per-view that he did with Kenny Omega.
Yeah,
to me, that would be an A-plus buy rate. But he wasn't there long enough to really see where it went because he only had a few shots and whatnot.
That's it. And I think it's a small sample of work.
And I think that what he's done in AEW, if it weren't for him, I don't think AEW gets the start that it got because I think they needed that Chris Jericho there to get that start. And I think a lot of the other guys really helped him out in the supported roles like the Kenny Omegas and the Young Bucks and Moxley and things like that, or Cody. So A-plus, maybe not an A-plus, but I think he's pretty close.
You know what I think the problem is? For the majority of his career, he was used as an idiot. And I think I enjoy Chris Jericho's work, but I just, when someone is portrayed as an idiot, they lose me. It's like Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle should be looked at as an A-plus player and one of the elite of all time in the company. But when the guy turned 40 times over the course of his career, did the nonsense with the cowboy hats and the milk, virtually his entire WWE career was a joke. His best body of work was in TNA that millions of fans never even saw. Yeah. So it's disappointing, but I the humor loses me. I want to see a dramatic action-adventure movie come to life, not someone tell jokes like it's Saturday Night Live doing a parody of pro wrestling. And Jericho, when he has his serious moments, he can be excellent. I mean, that feud he had with Shawn Michaels back in circa 2008.
So good.
That was classic work. Classic work. But, ... Then you have the nonsense with the Kevin Owens thing that he did a couple of years ago and during one of his last WWE runs. And, he makes a fool of himself in AEW sometimes. I know there was a percentage of their audience that loved that sit-down dinner sing-along that he did with MJF. I thought that was an embarrassment.
See, I look at it a little differently. I actually, if they were going head-to-head with, say, WWE at that point in time, I would actually switch over to watch that. As much as I really didn't enjoy it, I think the entertainment value was there, and I think I would change the channel to that if it was going head to head with a different wrestling company at that point in time. That's my take on it.
Well,
just to kind of see what happens. Honestly,
again, I think Jericho is someone where he's been around so long. There's a lot of people that are just going to put him on that list for his longevity. I think I enjoyed him more in WCW than WWF.
See, I didn't. I think that he looked like a fool in WCW. The only thing I enjoyed that he did in WCW was that one promo he did when he was in a feud with Dean Malenko, and he was naming all the holds.
All the holds? Yeah, that was funny.
To me, that was entertainment, and that was funny, and it was a quick one-off. But I liked
Ralphus. I thought that was amusing for where his role was at the time in the mid-card.
Sure, and he was trying to break out and do other things, and it's unfortunate that somebody like Goldberg, had to put a kibosh to it and didn't want to work with him because he felt like he was being made to look like a goof. But I don't know. I think that his time in WCW wasn't very good. I think that when he first came into WWE, he was trying to do that same type of stick, and it didn't work. It didn't work out, and he immediately got bumped down to the mid card level. But he built his brand back up. I think that he finished out pretty strong. And I like the stuff that he's doing now.
Well, I think his in-ring work is still there, but I mean, the nonsense with Orange Cassidy, and I just...
I wasn't a fan of that.
Not for me. Not for me. If I'm Jericho, a man that's obviously much closer to the end than the beginning, I want to go out strong, not work in a company that has 4 pay-per-views a year, and one of the matches is me falling into a swimming pool of orange juice. Maybe he was thirsty. Yeah, if there was a little vodka in it, maybe I'd die then. I don't know. But
nice little screwdriver match.
You know me, a Kowloon. But what was on your list as we close out this week's show? What did we miss?
You know what? We didn't miss much. I kind of mentioned it a little bit, but I just wanted to bring to light again the stuff that Matt Cardona is doing right now. He's really making some waves on the independents, and I'm glad that he's not signed with anybody. I'm glad that he's kind of doing his own thing. And he's just taking what he did back in 2011 with his True Long Island Story to try to get the buzz about him. He's got that following, and I think that if any company actually let him do his thing, he could be a top guy. That's just my take on it, but we'll see where it goes.
I think he was perfect for what WWE was trying to present as sports entertainment. Yeah. And it's crazy to me that they still didn't want to push him to that level. I mean, he was a guy that sold merchandise. He was believable as kind of a fun-loving goof.
Yeah.
It didn't destroy his in-ring ability based upon being kind of, fun and goofy and so on. And yet they still didn't want to do anything with the guy.
It baffles me because he had a lot of support. He had Cena backing him. He had CM Punk backing him. He had a lot of mainstream guys backing him, and he just never got over that hump. And maybe it's just that thing where Vince just doesn't get eyes on him. I don't know. I know there's a story out there where he was working a Superstars match, and Vince saw it and was like, why aren't we doing something with this guy? But for whatever reason, the writers or the agents or whomever just weren't big fan of Zack Ryder at the time, and Matt Cardona now. But he's not afraid of heat because of some of the clips I saw of him with Nick Gage. They were throwing beer bottles at him. They were throwing pizza cutters at him. They were throwing a lot of stuff at him. He got pelted.
Pizza cutters?
He got pelted with a bunch of crap.
How do you throw a pizza cutter?
I mean, you take it and you huck it at the guy. I mean, just like you would throw anything else.
I've never heard of that being thrown.
I enjoy somebody embracing the heel and not being afraid to piss people off and get trash thrown at them. That to me is an art. That's completely lost. You don't see anybody doing it because they're afraid to. They need to get, whomever to follow them on Twitter or whatever the case might be, and they got to get likes. But I've always been a heel at heart. I love being a heel, and I would never be afraid to do something like Matt Cardona did the other day. And I think any company that has somebody like that on their roster is going to be better off for it.
Well, you know what? it was certainly, I'm looking at a couple of pictures of it, a different style of the former Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona right now. Good for him if he thinks that's the way to go. He's certainly a bloody mess in this championship he won with GCW. But, hey, you know what? If he's enjoying himself, he went through the period of his career he was with WWE for, my gosh, it had to have been close to 15 years. So if he's out there enjoying himself, still making an income, maybe not what he was with WWE, but he has a very successful podcast about wrestling figures, and he's a good egg all around. I think he's a pretty good guy, so good for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's somebody I listen to a few of his podcasts that I enjoy. He's one of the few podcast people that I listen to. And if I was ever to book a show, I think he'd be one of the first guys I call.
Wow. Well, high recommendations from someone that is always stern but fair.
Yep. And that's the way we roll.
All right, my friend. Is there anything else we have before we go?
Nope. Just, make sure that you guys follow me on Twitter at NickHill4380. Make sure that you're subscribing to our podcast through Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever you get your listen on. Give us that 5-star review. Like us, subscribe, like I said, and keep the lights on, so to speak.
All right, wrestling fans, I apologize. I definitely think we're going to be on a little later than usual this week because we had JTG in studio much longer than we thought. But again, it's producing more great content for you. For my partner in crime, Mr. Tiger Mulligan himself, I'm Dan Marati. We'll see you next Sunday night, 7 p.m. for Wrestling Insider's Stern But Fair. Until then, you and yours, be well, stay healthy. Good night from Boston and New Jersey. Thank you for joining us. Please give the video a big thumbs up, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel to enjoy more great content. Don't forget, you can help keep wrestling legends working. Check out our eBay store and join the Boston Wrestling family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling so we can produce more in-depth shoot interviews.